A trip to Mars, a stolen identity, and a memory that may never have been real turned Total Recall into one of the most unforgettable sci-fi movies ever made. But the real drama began after the film ended. Behind the fame were devastating illnesses, shocking scandals, heartbreaking losses, and stars who nearly lost everything. Let's revisit the Total Recall cast then and now in 2026. Debbie Lee Carrington as Thumbelina. Thumbelina may have been one of the smallest mutants in Total Recall, but she moved with fierce loyalty and a fearless, almost explosive aggression whenever danger appeared. Despite limited screen time, she quickly became a fan favorite. Debbie Lee Carrington was born on December 14, 1959, in San Jose, California, and was 30 years old when she played the role. Her performance helped turn Thumbelina into one of the film's most memorable characters, proving that screen presence has nothing to do with size. For Debbie, however, life off-screen was often far more difficult than life in front of the camera. Born with dwarfism, she spent years fighting Hollywood's tendency to cast little people as nameless creatures, comic relief, or background oddities. Frustrated by the industry's prejudice, she worked twice as hard to earn serious roles and eventually built a career not only as an actress, but also as a respected stunt performer. Along the way, she appeared in major productions including Return of the Jedi as an Ewok, Howard the Duck, The Polar Express, and the hit sitcom Seinfeld. Yet success did not erase the personal sacrifices. Debbie never married and devoted much of her life to her career and advocacy for performers with disabilities. Friends often described her as passionate and outspoken, but that passion came with emotional exhaustion from years of fighting for equal opportunities. Behind the scenes, she also struggled with health complications connected to her congenital condition, challenges that became increasingly severe as she grew older. Debbie Lee Carrington passed away on March 23, 2018, at the age of 58. Her health had steadily declined during her final years due to complications associated with her lifelong condition. She died peacefully at her home, leaving behind a legacy that extended far beyond acting. For many fans, she remains a symbol of resilience, a performer who refused to let Hollywood define her limitations. Roy Brocksmith as Dr. Edgemar. Few scenes in Total Recall left audiences more unsettled than Dr. Edgemar's appearance. Calm, polite, and seemingly trustworthy, the psychiatrist convinced both Quaid and viewers to question whether everything they had seen was real or just an elaborate delusion. Roy Brocksmith was born on September 15, 1945, in Quincy, Illinois, and was 44 years old when he played the role. With only a few minutes of screen time, he delivered one of the film's most memorable psychological twists. Despite his talent, Brocksmith spent much of his career battling Hollywood typecasting. Because of his heavy-set appearance and gentle demeanor, he was frequently offered eccentric side characters instead of the dramatic leading roles he wanted. Nevertheless, he built a respected resume that included Arachnophobia, Total Recall, and the Emmy-winning television drama Picket Fences. Like many character actors, he spent years moving between stage productions, television work, and films simply to maintain a stable income. Away from Hollywood, Roy's life was remarkably stable compared to many actors of his era. He shared more than 3 decades with his partner Michael Albright, remaining together from 1970 until his death, and they raised a son while largely avoiding the spotlight. But while his family life remained strong, his health quietly deteriorated. For years he battled chronic diabetes, a disease that gradually damaged his kidneys and left him facing mounting physical and emotional challenges. On November 16, 2001, Roy Brocksmith died at the age of 56 from complications related to diabetes and kidney failure. His passing received far less attention than many major Hollywood deaths, yet fellow actors remembered him as one of the industry's most reliable and underrated performers. More than 2 decades later, fans still point to Dr. Edgemar as proof that a great actor can leave a lasting impression with only a single unforgettable scene. Michael Champion as Helm. Michael Champion played Helm, the stone-faced enforcer who carried out Cohagen's dirty work without hesitation. Whenever Helm appeared, it usually meant someone was about to be threatened, beaten, or killed. Born on September 7, 1946 in Anderson, Indiana, Champion was 43 years old when he appeared in Total Recall. He helped create the tense atmosphere that made the film so memorable. Getting to Hollywood was anything but easy. Champion spent years chasing acting jobs while also pursuing music under the name Michael Campbell. The paychecks were often small, the roles even smaller. For much of his career, he played anonymous tough guys, bikers, and villains in Beverly Hills Cop, 1984, Total Recall, 1990, and Diagnosis, Murder, but also appeared in other supporting roles such as Hard to Kill, 1990, and The A-Team, TV series, with success arriving far later than many people realize. In his later years, he gradually stepped away from Hollywood and focused more on music under his Michael Campbell identity. His life were mostly quiet, marked by occasional fan conventions, small creative projects, and a return to personal music work rather than film sets. He seemed content simply doing the work he loved, which kept his life largely out of the public spotlight right up until his passing. Michael Champion passed away on June 16, 2021, at the age of 74 after battling age-related health issues. His death may not have generated major headlines, but fans of 1980s and 1990s action films remembered him instantly. He was one of those actors whose name many people didn't know, but whose face they never forgot. Arnold Schwarzenegger as Douglas Quaid. One moment Douglas Quaid was an ordinary construction worker dreaming about Mars. The next, he was dodging bullets, uncovering hidden memories, and questioning whether any part of his life was real. Arnold Schwarzenegger turned that journey into one of the most iconic science fiction performances of all time. Born on July 30, 1947, in Thal, Austria, he was 42 years old when Total Recall hit theaters, and already one of the biggest action stars on Earth. The road to that success was filled with obstacles. Arnold grew up in a strict household under his father, Gustav Schwarzenegger, a police officer. Determined to escape his circumstances, Arnold poured everything into bodybuilding and eventually arrived in America with little money and limited English. Critics mocked his accent, doubted his acting ability, and insisted nobody with a physique like his could become a leading man. Instead, he built a career worth hundreds of millions of dollars through films such as The Terminator, Predator, Commando, True Lies, and Total Recall. Then came the scandal that threatened to overshadow everything. For 25 years, Arnold and Maria Shriver appeared to have one of Hollywood's strongest marriages. That image collapsed in 2011 when the world learned he had secretly fathered a son, Joseph Baena, with the family's longtime housekeeper, Mildred Baena. The revelation sparked a global media frenzy, destroyed his marriage, and severely damaged his public image. At the same time, Arnold faced another battle: his health. Born with a congenital heart valve defect, he has undergone multiple heart surgeries, including receiving a pacemaker in early 2024. As of 2026, Arnold Schwarzenegger is 79 years old and still refuses to slow down. His fortune is estimated at well over $1 billion, making him one of the richest actors in history. Whether through films, business ventures, fitness projects, books, or public speaking, he remains a global icon. Rachel Ticotin as Melina. If Douglas Quaid had one person he could truly trust on Mars, it was Melina. Tough, fearless, and never afraid to fight back, she was a resistance fighter, the smartest person in the room. Rachel Ticotin brought that strength to the role at just 31 years old. Born on November 1, 1958, in the Bronx, New York, she helped make Melina one of the most memorable female characters in Total Recall. Rachel's own story wasn't very different from the underdog spirit of the character she played. Raised in a working-class Puerto Rican family, she grew up surrounded by poverty, crime, and limited opportunities. Hollywood wasn't much easier. Throughout the 1980s and 1990s, Latina actresses were often pushed into stereotypical roles, forcing Rachel to fight constantly for better parts. Her persistence paid off with standout performances in Falling Down, Con Air, and Man on Fire, earning her a reputation as one of Hollywood's most convincing tough women. Away from the cameras, her personal life brought its own challenges. In 1984, she married actor David Caruso, years before he became a television superstar through CSI, Miami. The marriage produced a daughter, Greta Caruso, but ended in divorce just 3 years later. Rachel eventually found lasting happiness with actor Peter Strauss, whom she married in 1998. Unlike many Hollywood couples, their marriage has quietly endured for nearly 3 decades. As of 2026, Rachel Ticotin is 67 years old and enjoys a far more peaceful life than the characters she once played. Though she appears on screen less frequently today, she occasionally takes on selective acting projects and remains a respected figure among fans of action films. Sharon Stone. As Laurie. At first, Laurie seemed like the perfect wife. Then, in a matter of seconds, she became one of the biggest shocks in Total Recall. Watching Sharon Stone transform from a loving spouse into a deadly secret agent remains one of the film's most unforgettable twists. Born on March 10, 1958, in Meadville, Pennsylvania, she was 32 years old when she played the role. Today, many fans still remember Laurie as one of the movie's most dangerous and memorable characters. The irony is that Sharon's real life was often far more painful than anything shown on screen. Growing up in a working-class family, she later revealed that she suffered sexual abuse at the hands of her grandfather. When she entered Hollywood, executives frequently dismissed her as nothing more than a beautiful face. She eventually silenced critics with Basic Instinct and earned a Golden Globe and an Academy Award nomination for her powerful performance in Casino. Her private life became a source of repeated heartbreak. Sharon's marriages to producer Michael Greenberg and journalist Phil Bronstein both ended in divorce. She also endured multiple miscarriages caused by autoimmune complications. The darkest chapter arrived in 2001 when she suffered a life-threatening stroke and brain hemorrhage. Doctors reportedly gave her only a small chance of survival. She lost memory function, struggled to speak, walk, and read, and spent nearly 7 years rebuilding her life. During that period, her career collapsed, and she eventually lost primary custody of her adopted son following her divorce from Bronstein. As of 2026, Sharon Stone is 68 years old and remains one of the most recognizable icons of the 1990s. Despite everything she has endured, she continues acting, writing, painting, and supporting charitable causes, particularly HIV/AIDS research and brain health initiatives. Her estimated net worth is around $25 million, but her greatest achievement may simply be survival. Ronny Cox as Cohaagen. Every great sci-fi movie needs a villain audiences love to hate, and Total Recall found one in Velos Cohaagen. Ruthless, power-hungry, and willing to control an entire planet's oxygen supply to maintain his grip on power, Cohaagen was the kind of character who made viewers root even harder for Quaid. The role was played by Ronny Cox, who was born on July 23, 1938, in Cloudcroft, New Mexico, and was 51 years old when the film was released. His calm voice and polished appearance made Cohaagen even more intimidating because he never needed to shout to command fear. Ironically, the man behind so many unforgettable villains could not have been more different in real life. While audiences knew him from films like Deliverance, RoboCop, Beverly Hills Cop, and Total Recall, Ronny always considered music his true passion. Even as his acting career flourished, he spent decades writing songs, recording albums, and performing folk music, hoping audiences would see more than just the bad guys he portrayed on screen. His greatest love story happened far away from Hollywood. In 1960, Ronny married his childhood sweetheart, Mary Cox, and together they built one of the entertainment industry's rare scandal-free marriages. Their relationship lasted 46 years, until tragedy struck in 2006 when Mary died from multiple organ failure on the couple's wedding anniversary. For a long time, Ronnie struggled with grief and depression, and music became his refuge. As of 2026, Ronnie Cox is 88 years old. He has largely stepped away from acting and now spends most of his time with family, music, and occasional appearances for longtime fans. Michael Ironside as Richter. You could always tell Richter was dangerous because he wasn't just following orders, he took everything personally. Fueled by anger, jealousy, and an obsession with hunting down Quaid, he brought a level of intensity that made every confrontation feel unpredictable. Born on February 12, 1950 in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, Ironside was 40 years old when he stepped into the role that would become one of the defining performances of his career. Getting there wasn't easy. Raised in a working-class family with 5 children, Ironside learned early that nothing would be handed to him. He worked demanding construction jobs and other labor-intensive work to help pay for his artistic ambitions. Hollywood eventually noticed his distinctive voice, sharp features, and intimidating screen presence. He built an impressive career through projects such as Scanners, Top Gun, Starship Troopers, and countless voice-acting performances, including the legendary role of Sam Fisher in the Splinter Cell video game franchise. The most dramatic battles of his life happened away from the camera. Michael faced not 1 but 2 life-threatening cancer diagnoses, surviving both prostate cancer and melanoma. At certain points, the outlook was so serious that doctors feared the worst. Instead of giving up, he endured surgeries, treatments, and long periods of recovery while maintaining an extraordinary determination to keep working. As of 2026, Michael Ironside is 76 years old and remains one of the most respected character actors of his generation. Although he works less frequently than during his peak years, he still appears in selected projects and enjoys enormous admiration from fans of science fiction, action films, and gaming. Ironside's real-life story may be even more remarkable than any character he ever played on screen. Marshall Bell as George/Kuato. One of the strangest and most unforgettable moments in Total Recall came when George revealed the secret hidden beneath his coat. What seemed like an ordinary man suddenly became the vessel for Kuato, the mutant leader whose knowledge could change the future of Mars. The role demanded both vulnerability and mystery, and Marshall Bell delivered exactly that. Born on September 28, 1942, in Tulsa, Oklahoma, he was 47 years old when he appeared in the film. Even decades later, Kuato remains one of the most iconic images in science fiction history. What's surprising is that Bell never planned to become an actor. He spent years serving in the military and working in finance before deciding to pursue Hollywood much later than most aspiring performers. Yet somehow, Bell managed to carve out a successful career, becoming one of those character actors whose face audiences instantly recognized. His credits eventually included Stand By Me, A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Twins, and Starship Troopers, proving that persistence sometimes matters more than timing. Away from the spotlight, his life has been remarkably stable by Hollywood standards. Since 1987, Bell has been married to legendary costume designer Milena Canonero, one of the most celebrated figures in film history and a 4-time Academy Award winner. While many entertainment marriages collapsed under pressure, theirs quietly endured for decades. As of 2026, Marshall Bell is 84 years old and largely retired from acting. He enjoys a comfortable life in Los Angeles with Milena, far removed from the chaos of the industry. Looking back, his story is a rare Hollywood plot twist. Mel Johnson Jr. as Benny. If you've seen Total Recall, you probably remember Benny's smile. He seems like a harmless, funny taxi driver helping Quaid navigate the dangers of Mars. Then comes the betrayal. Benny reveals where his true loyalties lie, instantly transforming from comic relief into one of the story's most hated characters. The role was played by Mel Johnson Jr., who was born on September 1st, 1952, in New York City, and was 36 years old when he appeared in the film. Like many black actors of his generation, Johnson faced an uphill battle trying to break into Hollywood. The 1970s and 1980s offered limited opportunities, and competition for meaningful roles was fierce. Rejection became a regular part of his life. Rather than give up, he expanded beyond film and found success on Broadway, while also appearing in screen projects such as A Soldier's Story, 1984, and the television series Hill Street Blues. That combination of stage and screen work helped him build a career that lasted for decades. As of 2026, Mel Johnson Jr. is 73 years old and remains active in the performing arts. While he occasionally appears on screen, much of his energy now goes into directing stage productions, mentoring younger performers, and teaching acting. He has spent more than 5 decades quietly building a career defined by resilience, professionalism, and dedication to his craft. Ray Baker, as McClane. Everything in Total Recall starts going wrong the moment Douglas Quaid walks into Recall. Sitting behind that disastrous memory implant procedure was McClane, the company executive who suddenly realizes his customer may be far more dangerous than anyone expected. Ray Baker played the role with the perfect mix of confidence and panic, helping launch the chain of events that drives the entire story. Born on July 9, 1948 in Omaha, Nebraska, he was 42 years old when the film premiered. However, Baker spent decades building a reputation as one of Hollywood's most dependable character actors. The downside was that casting directors often saw him as the ideal bureaucrat, lawyer, politician, or government official. While those roles kept him employed, they rarely allowed him to show the full range of his talent. To challenge himself creatively, he remained deeply involved in projects such as The Right Stuff, Rain Man, CSI, and dozens of other television and film appearances. His personal life brought its own share of drama. In 1982, he married actress Patricia Richardson, who later became famous through Home Improvement. Together, they had 3 children and appeared to have built a stable Hollywood family. That image cracked in 1995 when the marriage ended after 13 years. The divorce reportedly involved difficult custody disputes and placed enormous emotional strain on both sides. Baker later found happiness again with actress Sherry Albright, choosing a quieter life away from the spotlight. As of 2026, Ray Baker is 78 years old. He has largely stepped back from acting and enjoys a more private lifestyle centered around family and longtime friendships. Though he was rarely the star of the show, his face became familiar to generations of viewers, proving that sometimes the actors who quietly support a story can leave just as lasting an impression as the leading men. Rosemary Dunsmore as Dr. Lull. When Quaid's memory implant begins spiraling out of control, one of the people scrambling to contain the disaster is Dr. Lull, the recall scientist caught in the middle of the chaos. Calm, intelligent, and highly skilled, the character represented the scientific side of the story before everything descended into paranoia and violence. The role was played by Rosemary Dunsmore, who was born on October 13, 1953, in Canada, and was 36 years old when she appeared in Total Recall. Her path to success demanded far more persistence than many fans realize. While trying to establish herself in the competitive American entertainment industry, Dunsmore also remained committed to Canada's theater scene. Many viewers know her best as Catherine Brooke in Anne of Green Gables, the sequel, while younger audiences may recognize her from acclaimed series such as Orphan Black and The Handmaid's Tale. Away from the screen, Rosemary experienced her share of personal setbacks. Her marriage to actor Peter Dvorsky eventually ended in divorce, a painful chapter that forced her to rebuild her life both emotionally and professionally. Rather than retreat from the industry, she immersed herself in teaching, mentoring young performers, and directing stage productions. As of 2026, Rosemary Dunsmore is 73 years old and remains active in the arts. While many actors gradually disappear from public view, she continues contributing through theater, education, and occasional screen appearances. Decades after Total Recall, she is still admired not only for her performances, but also for the wisdom, grace, and dedication she has brought to generations of artists. David Nell as Ernie. At the beginning of Total Recall, Ernie was just one of Quaid's co-workers at the construction site. He represented the ordinary life Quaid thought he was living before everything unraveled. The role was played by David Nell. Born on September 14, 1960 in California, he was 28 years old when he appeared in Total Recall. Unlike many Hollywood actors, Nell started working in the entertainment industry at a young age. That early success came with its own challenges. While he continued finding work in projects such as Splash, 1984, and Turner and Hooch, 1989, he never experienced the kind of breakthrough that turns an actor into a household name. Rather than waiting for opportunities to come to him, Nell gradually expanded his work behind the camera. Producing and writing offered new creative outlets and helped provide more stability than acting alone. In 1994, he married Jamie Taylor, and their marriage endured. Friends have often described him as someone who valued family and stability far more than celebrity status. As of 2026, David Nell is 65 years old and enjoys a comfortable life. He successfully adapted to the industry's challenges and built a career that lasted for decades. Fans still recognize him from films such as Splash, Turner and Hooch, and Total Recall. Alexia Robinson as Tiffany. As one of the bold and colorful women working at the infamous Last Resort District, Tiffany helped bring personality and energy to the film's unforgettable vision of life on the Red Planet. The role was played by Alexia Robinson. Born on December 6, 1959 in California, she was 30 years old when her confidence and screen presence made even a relatively small part memorable. Getting noticed in Hollywood proved far more difficult than it looked. During the early years of her career, Robinson faced fierce competition from countless young actresses, all chasing the same opportunities. Rejection became a familiar part of the process. Rather than giving up, she gradually built a career through television, particularly in the world of daytime soap operas such as The Young and the Restless, The Nutty Professor, and General Hospital. As of 2026, Alexia Robinson is 66 years old and remains deeply connected to the entertainment industry. Much of her time is now devoted to mentoring young performers through her acting school in Los Angeles, where she helps the next generation navigate the challenges she once faced herself. Her career stands as a story of perseverance, longevity, and finding success on her own terms. So, which Total Recall cast member surprised you the most? Was it the stars who overcame incredible personal battles, or the actors whose lives took completely unexpected turns after the movie ended? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more then and now stories from your favorite classic movies. See you in the next video.